Did you buy my Christmas gift, Jeff?
I don't shop much.
Yeah. Well, then you can just come right on down to the galleries. We got all your options right
Okay.
there. But speaking
Keep them open for me.
keep them, yeah. People, I wanted to touch on the value of shopping local as opposed to doing online shopping, because that adds, when you stay local, you keep the money in the community, therefore you keep the value here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think there? Have you gotten my Christmas gift yet?
Yes.
I don't believe you.
No, I've gotten it already. Way ahead of you.
Really?
Really.
Well, what do you think? Where'd you get it from?
I'm not telling. If I told you where I got it from, you'd know what it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really.
Not another gun, is it?
No. There's not another weapon.
You got me a gun last year.
Great.
You need it around here.
Oh. Anyhow, what have you got on your computer?
You talk about whatever you want to talk
No,
about.
no,
today.
what's
no,
on
no,
your
I don't want to
computer?
interfere. Residential tax appeals.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Shoot.
What? I see you came prepared today, huh?
Well, I thought of it last night while I was decorating the Christmas tree.
And?
So,
And?
go ahead. Start talking.
I just thought it might be an appropriate time to do that because the
Tax
tax
appeals.
day is coming up. You know the day on which all real and personal property is assessed in the state of Michigan?
The first, isn't it?
December 31st.
The
Each and
31st.
every, yeah, 31st of each and every. That's the busiest day of the year for assessors throughout Michigan. Do you believe that? I don't. Okay, they're assessing all year round, but it's the value as of December 31st. And I also, in relationship to assessments, the issue of uncapping comes up a lot because people try to get things closed before the end of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? For one reason or another. But if you think about it rationally, particularly in commercial transactions where I've got capital gains to report, I don't have the tax exemption for personal residence, $250,000 for each taxpayer. From a seller's point of view, I'd like to put the capital gain in the next year. And from a buyer's perspective, what I want to do is I want the property to remain uncapped for an additional year, because uncapping for tax purposes happens the year after the sale. So if I close on December...
What does uncapping mean?
Well, you have to understand how property is taxed in Michigan. I have what's called TCV, which is true cash value. That's what the assessor comes out to determine, true cash value. Using using appraisal standards, virtually the same standards as an appraiser, slightly different in some respects, but essentially the same to determine true cash value. That is then divided by half, so you end up with assessed value. And assessed value is adjusted then by the Department of Equalization, going through to determine if the municipality where the property is located is properly properly assessing the properties, applying the state equalized factor. Then you come up with SEV, which is state equalized value, and that's the amount that gets taxed, except in Michigan, my property taxes cannot increase they increase annually by the inflation rate, which has been nominal over the last decade, really. So it can increase only by the amount of inflation, but no greater than 5%. So if the annual rate of inflation was 6%, it's capped at 5%. But taxes are kept low compared to the value. In other words, the value of property since we came out of the recession has increased dramatically, much higher than the rate of inflation. So I might have property that I've held on to. I mean, we've owned our residence since 1994 here in Jackson, and the taxes have been capped ever since that time. So our assessed value on that property, or our state equalized value, I don't even know what it is right now, because it's essentially irrelevant since the taxes have been capped since 1994. So they're artificially low compared to if we sold that property today.
Right.
Then for next year, the buyer, all the taxes are uncapped, and the buyer would now be paying taxes based upon the SEV. You start all over, so that buyer now would start all over in terms of what the tax rate was.
Based upon fair market value. I mean, the SEV.
True cash, it's actually called true cash value.
Yeah, but
TCV.
the SEV currently on a house might be wrong. And the assessor could update it. I mean,
Why
not,
would it be wrong?
well,
The
because.
SEV is based upon the true cash value.
Well, I
At
get
least-
that, but not all assessors update, even though they're supposed to.
Yeah, you
City
could
of
be right.
Jackson's really good at it, but,
Yeah,
not all municipalities do.
well, okay. All right. It may not reflect, what you're saying is it may not accurately reflect
it-
what the fair market value is. The true
Correct.
cash value determined by the assessor may not be the fair market value,
Correct.
the FMV, in certain circumstances, sure, okay?
Right,
Yeah,
I mean,
don't
the house,
disagree
and
with
then the
that.
house could have been.
Well,
when
from
the-
'94 till today, obviously, there could be a change.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
You know, as Trump says, huge.
Huge.
Yeah, it's huge. Fantastic. It was just fantastic this Sunday. It's so amazing. Okay.
What?
Just doing a little Trump impression.
Yeah,
okay.
whatever.
At any rate, yeah, I mean, I didn't even look at last year's notice of assessment because I just didn't care about it. Why would I appeal?
I always look at it.
Well, I know you do, but there's no point in appealing it because nothing's changed.
It's all the same.
It's all the same. No.
Well, yeah, except for there was one time, a few years ago, where our taxable value went up more than the rate of inflation, and it was simply a mathematical error, and I had to call the assessor, and they changed it.
Yeah, that happens.
So you should always check
Yeah,
it.
no, I don't disagree with that.
I always do the math
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah, and you want to make sure that you're.
Was that changed without your notification?
No, we got notification.
Okay.
Yeah, in other words,
Yeah, they send you a
get your,
notice.
you get your notice of assessment late January or in February, telling you what your assessment data is for the coming year.
Okay.
Okay, for that taxable year. And so you want to check that out, particularly if you bought the property the year before. Now, all of a sudden, you may have good reason to want to appeal the tax assessment because if you believe, and if you can prove that the true cash value is less than what the assessor came up with, it's worthwhile appealing your taxes. And if the property's classified as residential, you gotta check your assessor's records. If it's classified as residential and you think that you're being overtaxed, that they've overvalued your property, you must show up at the board of review in March. If you fail to show up at the board of review, you're done. You can't appeal to the tax tribunal at all. So the steps are if I want to appeal my taxes, if I bought property in this year and I want to appeal my notice of assessment or my assessment next year, the first thing I would do is go to the assessor. Okay? Go to the assessor, get the assessor's records, check the card, find out whether or not the assessor has accurate information. In other words, do they have it with 4 bedrooms and there are only 3? Do they have it with 3 bathrooms and there are only 2? In other words, if you can find an error where the assessor is showing improvements or appurtenances that don't exist, then you've got a good basis to appeal. Once you've verified the assessor's records, now if you still want to appeal, if you think that your property is being overassessed, now you've got work to do. You have to, my view as a lawyer is you really need an appraisal. You need a qualified appraiser, certified residential appraiser to go out and appraise the property. Some lawyers will tell you, well, do your own research on Zillow, do your own research, go talk to a real estate broker to do a market analysis, or a broker's opinion, but my view is go get an appraisal done because that's what's most persuasive, first at the board of review, and then if you don't get what you want at the board of review and you go to the tax tribunal, whether it's the full tax tribunal or what's known as a small claims division at the tax tribunal, having that appraisal in hand, which shows that a professional has actually determined its value as something different than the assessor, is really worthwhile to have.
I can't do it on my phone. Can
What's
you
that?
look up the improvements that you can do to a house that don't increase
I
your
don't,
taxable value?
I don't have that capability here. I'm not online. I just have my
Oh, here.
computer. I just pulled this stuff up that I have in the computer on the.
I'll turn on my hotspot for you.
So what do you want to know? The improvements?
What the improvements that you can do to a house that don't affect.
Well, normal repairs and maintenance.
I know, but
anything which
can you get the
contributes
list
to
off the
energy.
Michigan site?
I don't have access to that on my computer. If you wanna get it on your phone, you can.
I can't, I can't, didn't bring my glasses on, so I can't really
So
read
you
it.
can't read it anyway?
But I don't know what to Google.
It would be easy to do. For anybody that's listening that has an interest in this particular subject, it's very easy to do. You can go to the State of Michigan website, go to the Department of Treasury. There'll be facts, frequently asked questions. You can find out everything you want to know about what improvements are exempt from adding to your taxable value. Not to your taxable value, I'm sorry, to your assessed value.
You know, the other thing we have to watch for at the beginning of the year is, what's the personal property tax? Don't you have to apply to have that taken away in the state of Michigan? As a business person?
Are you talking about for businesses?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the answer to that. I haven't researched that, and I am not involved in it, so I just don't know. Ask me anything you want about real estate taxes, I can answer it. Personal property taxes, you're talking to somebody that really doesn't have the expertise on it. You need to talk to an accountant about that one, I would think.
Okay.
Why, what are you talking about?
Well, there's the personal property tax. I just
For a
told you.
business, which
Right.
doesn't apply to I mean, let everybody
Right,
know
right.
that it doesn't apply to residential properties, right? But you're talking about business personal property.
Mm-hmm.
Personal property tax was phased out.
But you have to apply to be exempt from it. You have to file some form or something.
Don't know.
Because I didn't do it and you're paying it.
Well, that's always glad. I'm happy to
It's
know
not
that.
much, but still.
All right, so what else you want to know about tax assessments? Anything?
Well, I asked you and you said you
Yeah.
couldn't look it up, so I'm trying.
Well, no, that's the improvements, the assessment process. And, because you have the terms AV, which is assessed value, you got TCV, which is true cash value. You've got SEV, state equalized value, and then you got TV, which is taxable value. And the taxable value is the one that you're actually paying your millages on. And then you have PRE, which we talked a little bit about either last week or the week before. And you want to make certain that you file, if you buy a residence this year, you want to make certain that you get your PRE, your personal residence exemption form filed. And if you're the seller, you have to file a rescission of your personal residence exemption. Those are things that need to get taken care of at the closing.
Here's some frequently asked questions.
They are.
Did the assessments go down, Bill, when they?
Oh, yeah, dramatically.
And the problem with that it takes a long time for them to go back up. And then when our roads don't get improved and local things don't happen, it's because we lost so much value on our taxable value that it took away our revenue stream.
Yeah,
in
the
the
taxable value
municipalities.
cannot exceed the assessed value. So what happened with the real estate recession was assessments went down, true cash values went down dramatically. They went down to 40% in some circumstances, of what they were before. And so what happens now that, I can't tell you whether in this community, Laura would know better than
Do
I.
those properties all have to be reassessed?
No, well, yeah, they're all,
Yeah.
as of December 31st, every year properties are reassessed in the state
And they're
of Michigan.
about, aren't they like 2 years behind? I mean, the values, takes a while for your taxable value or your assessed value to reach,
How are
they're
they
gonna be
doing
behind,
this?
but
They're not coming out and looking at your house.
Not all the time, but assessors, they will go out and look at properties, depends upon,
But if they have an issue,
yeah, if there's an issue, if the property's changed hands, they may do a drive-by. They may knock on your door and ask to go through the property. You don't have to let them in. But yeah, they're required by law to assess as of December 31st on each year. But as Laura says, it's difficult. I mean, I have great sympathy for assessors.
what would send you to the review board?
The fact that
Is
I
there-
get a notice which shows my true cash value is greater than what I believe it to be, and I'm I'm just bought the property. Again, my view is I don't really care that much about true cash value and assessed value as long as my taxes are capped, and so I'm not really that concerned about the.
so here
true
it
cash
says,
value.
Michigan law prohibits assessors from using the sale price
Right.
for determining it.
Yeah, they can't simply take, because remember that at each closing, you have to file a real property statement with the local assessing authority. And that contains, or must contain, the price that was paid. But the state law was changed to provide that, as part, General Property Tax Act was changed, to provide that the assessor cannot simply take the sale price and use that as the true
You know,
cash
what is
value.
what is considered a transfer of ownership? I mean, there's something that we were, our office building, we're turning it into apartments, and our CPA recommended we change the ownership or something.
Well, okay, transfer.
And then the
if-
concern was
if more than-
uncapping.
Right, if more than 50% of the beneficial interest in the property is transferred, that triggers uncapping. So, if you and I sold that building to someone else, it would get uncapped. You and I own 50% of the interest in that entity, and if 50%, if I transferred my 50% to someone else, it would not uncap it. But if I transferred my 50% and you transferred 1%, then the taxes would get uncapped as to that property. Unless it was an exempt transfer. And there are a variety of exempt transfers to relatives within, I think, the third degree of consanguinity. In other words, transfer to your parent, your kid, your brother, your sibling, things like that. They actually just changed it 2 years ago to add some exemptions for relatives. But you could check that, and it's also at the state website, at the Department of Treasury website.
So a big fluctuation in market value.
Been a huge fluctuation in market value since coming out of the recession, yeah.
So that would go,
Doesn't
that could go
matter.
up and down every year.
No, generally speaking, property values, after the bubble, they started increasing. They were basically
Slowly.
stable there, and then they started coming back. And look, in places like Ann Arbor, Grand Rapids, pockets in Detroit, the values have gone above where they were pre-recession. So,
And I think I figured out about a week ago that our values are back to, I want to say 2006 values. How far do our stats go, Jackie?
2006?
Well, I thought you went back a little further.
Oh, I might go back to 04.
Yeah, so I think we're back roughly around 2006 value.
which is pre-recession.
But your taxable value can go down. It's not, it won't be determined, I mean, an undeterminable amount, but can only increase the rate of inflation or 5%.
Yeah, as a result of recession, taxable values, the assessed value went down, so taxable values went down, and now the taxable value has not increased at the same rate that the assessed value has.
Okay, so we have a price reduction on Lori Drive, which is Western School District's 4 bedrooms, 1.5 bath. The address is 6581 Lori Drive. Nice house, move-in condition, great backyard, deck. It's just a lot of space. It's almost 2,200 square feet, and we've got it priced at $149,900. We have 2 at just under 30,000, 601 Seymour, and then 1034 First Street. We have Burning Tree, 6306 Burning Tree, which is Northwest Schools, 214.9 new carpet, new roof, and then a cream puff of a house out at Clark Lake area, and that's 2654 Virginia Court, 139.9, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, just over 800 square feet. And the gallery, we have, what do we got going on this week at the
Artitude
gallery?
Adjustment.
Artitude Adjustment is Thursday. It's beer, wine, come on in and shop at all 3 of the galleries, the Orange Peacock Gallery, Artitude,
2 weeks till Christmas.
and the Jewel Box by the Orange Peacock. And there's only 2 weeks before
No,
Christmas.
come on.
And stay local in your shopping, please.